as a Flyers fan, you can be upset that the team went out and beat Winnipeg. You can be upset that the Flyers have played some good games of late, one against the Penguins, one against the Oilers. You can get upset every time they win. But I'm just telling you now that if you get upset every time they win, you're probably going to have heartburn a little bit. Now, the good news for you is if you want to watch the Flyers race to the bottom, they're about to enter one hell of a tough stretch. The entire month of March is it's a gauntlet. Now, they're not going to make the playoffs, right? If this team somehow makes the fucking playoffs, after all we've been through, after finally getting that little tease, we're going to trade away Morgan Frost, we're going to trade away Joel Farabee, there goes some playmaking, there goes some goal scoring, you people want a tank, we'll give you a tank. If you were one of those people, and in fairness, I said, hey, you're losing some playmaking with Frost, you're losing some goal scoring with Farabee, going to be hard to score goals. Kuzmenko is getting everybody believing Peltier is Peltier, but this team has looked so much better since trading away Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee. It is mind-numbing. It is absolutely perplexing. I can't believe how much better this team has looked since moving Frost and Farabee. It is like night and day. And it makes you wonder how much of a waste, how much wasted time was put into the development of both Frost and Farabee. Neither of whom, by the way, has found a ton of success since going out to Calgary. I'm not saying their careers are over. I'm not saying that they're total busts and frauds and all that. But neither of them have found a lot of success at all. And so it does make you wonder. Now, if you are a Flyers fan, like Alex just asked, and the team wins, and you're disappointed that they're winning, the thing I would say to you is, you just kind of have to deal. If you're upset about the losses, you just kind of have to deal, or with the wins, you just kind of have to deal with it. They are going to lose games in this month of March. They will probably lose more than they win. Now, we will go out and do our thing that we've kind of grown accustomed to doing on this show. We're going to check in on Tankathon. Remember, last week, one day we checked in, they had the 7th best odds of getting up to the number 1 overall pick. Another day, they had the 6th best odds. And as of this morning, so as of Monday, March the 3rd, the year of our Lord, 2025, the Flyers have the 8th best odds right now of getting that number 1 overall pick. Now, as I have pointed out here many, many times, you just have to look in the points column. The games played, there's a bit of variance, right? Pittsburgh has already played 63. They already have fewer points than the Flyers do. That's not ideal. The games in hand thing that you use where you've played fewer games than the opposition and you're trying to chase a playoff spot, that's one thing. But if a team has played more games than you already and they already have fewer points, that's not ideal. But if you look over at the points, right? From Seattle with 56 points all the way to, like, let's say 14 where the Rangers are, where their pick would convey to Pittsburgh, it's 64. That's an 11-point gap. Now, if you want to look at where the Flyers are at 62 points, it's not ideal, but they are going to lose some games. They have 21 games to play. They're not picking up 42 points over the last 21 games. I would expect they 10, 12. 10 or 12 gets you in that top 5. It gets you in that very comfortable top 5 spot. Remember, the big thing you want to keep an eye on here isn't just hoping and praying for Lady Luck to smile on the Flyers for the first time and have it actually work out, right? I'm not talking about getting, Lady Luck and you end up with Nolan Patrick instead of Cal McCarr or Heiskanen or even Elias Pettersson. I'm not talking about the unfortunate lottery luck where you get JVR instead of Patrick Kane at number 2. If you can just somehow end up in that top 5, the worst that you can then finish is like number 7. You can get jumped by 2 teams and still pick in the top 7. If you're the Flyers and you finish at 8 and you get jumped twice, well, then you're down to number 10. Now, again, this really is a 3, maybe 4-player draft. You're not going to be able to lose enough games to end up where San Jose or Chicago are. And I find it hard to believe that Nashville is all of a sudden going to go on a heater. So that top 3 in the draft, right, the top 3 likelihood of getting the number 1 overall pick, that is probably set in stone. There might be a little bit of variance. Does Chicago fall off? It's possible. But if you're the Flyers, if you can somehow get to number 5, you feel pretty good about your chances of either getting up to one of the top 2 spots or at the very least going from 5 down to like 7. And there, you're still going to get a very good player. Might not be a franchise-altering player. In fairness, there are no talents right now being viewed as generational talents. So if there was a draft, I guess, to like not get that number 1 overall pick and not feel the worst about it, maybe it's this one. But, as you can see here, just over 4 days away from the trade deadline, there are things the Flyers can do to lower the ceiling, lower the floor. But let's sim the lottery really quickly because that's what it's all about here. This is like the hokey pokey. You put your left foot in, you put your left foot out, you put your left foot in, you shake it all about. You sim the lottery, you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. And, oh shit! The Flyers got the number 1 overall pick! That has never happened on the history of this show. I told you, it's a marvelous Monday, a magnificent Monday. Number 1 overall pick. So this, everybody save this clip. We're going to use this. We're going to send like Kyle Pagan or whatever back down to the voodoo place or wherever he went down in New Orleans where he put like the sacrifice with Big Dom for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. We're going to take this clip and we're going to go put it on the little altar thing that Pagan did. And we just need that. The Flyers in this scenario jump from number 8 to number 1. Love it. We'll take it. Highly unlikely, because then look what else will happen. Anaheim jumps 5 spots to number 2. But still, we can all feel good about it, right? It doesn't matter if it works or not, okay? It doesn't matter. JH says, stop the count. Adam Glick thrilled. Thrilled, okay? Okay. Greg Bondarenko, by the way. Screenshot taken. We'll do it. Jade says they have to honor it. They're contractually obligated to. Okay. So that's a little bit of good stuff. Now we're going to go back over to the comments here really quick because I kind of derailed this on the, should we be happy or sad about the Flyers winning games? Kind of is what it is. They're not going to the thing is they're not going to be able to do anything to really tank the season. Now, Lawton could be dealt. And actually, let's go over to Lawton really quick because it was hilarious. Lawton did something over the weekend that made me legitimately cackle like a crazy person. So Lawton is out in Winnipeg. He's at a restaurant. I saw that somebody sleuthed and figured out what restaurant he was at. But Scott Lawton puts out this image. Now, there were some people who got triggered by it because, of course, they did. But Scott Lawton puts out this picture. Very Last Supper-esque, right? So Lawton's sitting at the table with the rest of this crew. And then, of course, people start speculating. Does this mean Lawton knows he's being traded? Does this mean that Lawton is aware that a trade is imminent? Obviously, he didn't get dealt, so there was no trade imminent. I looked at this and I laughed. And there were people who said, well, you know what? You can't be triggered about what happened at the Olympics and then think that this is okay. And I view it as this is recreating the painting. I don't view this as a mockery of Christianity. I view it as a guy who's just legitimately calling it the Last Supper because it's his last road trip potentially as a member of the Flyers. If you got triggered by it, I apologize that you got triggered by it. Maybe Scott Lawton will apologize to you for triggering. Alex says, I have to say that watching Noah Cates, Forster, and Brink on the first line hurts my soul. They've played so well together. I mean, we said this on Press Row Show last week, but I'll reiterate it here. Cates, Forster, and Brink, if that ends up becoming your third line of the future, and they're all under team control at an affordable rate, and the cap is going up, we always talk about the fact that in a rebuild, you need to get elite talent, which is totally true. And I very much am at the forefront of like, you need elite talent to win in this league. You need the best talent in the league to win the Stanley Cup. But at the same time, in the midst of a rebuild, you cannot overlook the importance of potentially finding a skilled and a group of guys that are willing to bust their ass. I mean, Cates, Forster, and Brink right now have shown the ability to score in a number of ways, a willingness to throw their bodies around, a willingness to give up the body for the team. If in the midst of this rebuild, you've ended up with Matvei Mishkov, Whatever this other pick ends up being, you really believe in Jetlachenko. Oh, and by the way, you might have this third line that is significantly better than most teams' third lines, and they're young and they're under team control. If that was a byproduct of this entire rebuilding effort, that's not a joke. That's a legitimate thing that you can kind of put as a feather in your cap. That's a hell of a thing to have locked in long-term for this team. Yes, you still need more elite talent. Yes, you're going to ultimately look to hit free agency, restricted free agency, trades to try to bring a one seed to town. Without a doubt, you're going to try to find probably another top pair defenseman, ideally a number one defenseman. But like having that third line together is like no small feat. And the fact that they can grow together, that they're young, that there is some skill there, there's nary a bit of ego on that line. It's a great thing.